In the 2020 election, numerous states expanded or implemented various forms of vote by mail, also known as absentee ballots, in order to make voting easier during the coronavirus pandemic. However, voting by mail in the United States is not new. Some states have been voting entirely by mail for years now. Oregon was the first state to implement universal vote by mail in the 1990s. Unfortunately, vote by mail has also come under attack by some who claim it is fraudulent or otherwise risky. In this video, we will look specifically at the pros and cons of universal vote by mail systems used in states such as Oregon, Washington, and Colorado. Vote by mail makes it faster and easier to vote. With mail-in voting, you don't have to spend time waiting in line at a polling place, or try to find your polling place, or doing any other of the traditional things that you do to show up at a polling place to vote. In fact, you don't even need to leave your home at all. In most cases, you can return your mail ballot right in your own mailbox. Vote by mail makes it much easier to be a well-informed voter. Many elections feature numerous small local offices and ballot initiatives that voters are not always aware of when they walk into a polling location. However, with vote by mail, you get to vote in your own home with access to all the resources you have there to educate yourself or look things up if you choose, and you can spend as much time as you want to vote rather than feeling like you have to rush through it and get it completed as soon as possible so the person behind you can vote. Vote by mail systems raise voter turnout. It turns out that when you send people their ballot, they're much more likely to fill it out and vote. Numerous studies have shown voter turnout increasing after states moved to universal vote by mail, and at least one study showed that Oregon's vote by mail system increased voter turnout by 10%. Vote by mail can be difficult to access for certain communities. Many Native American tribes have reservations where mail is only received at a centralized P.O. box rather than directly delivered. This can make it more difficult for them to receive and return mail ballots. Homeless and highly transient Americans also may have difficulty receiving and returning their ballots. Vote by mail can result in more ballots being rejected. Typically, about 2% of mail-in ballots end up getting rejected, while only about 0.5% of in-person ballots get rejected. This happens for two reasons. First, it's easier to catch and fix a ballot mistake in person than it is via mail. Second, some mail ballots arrive too late to be counted. However, these are solvable problems. If states mail out ballots far enough ahead of time and use postmarked by election day deadlines, as well as have a robust tracking and cure process, you can bring mail ballot rejection rates down to similar levels as in-person ballots. Vote by mail makes certain kinds of voter fraud easier. Specifically, it makes family and spousal fraud easier and likely more common. This is when someone casts a ballot on behalf of their spouse or adult child. Often, this is harmless in that they're filling out the ballot the same way their spouse would, but occasionally there are instances of genuine fraud. It should be noted, however, that all mail-in states have more protections against this than other states, and that states with fewer numbers of absentee ballot users have a slightly higher rate of fraud. In all of these cases, though, fraud is extremely rare. Overall, universal vote by mail, when implemented well, provides many pros that outweigh the cons, and most resistance to vote by mail comes from false concerns about it being vulnerable to fraud, or from just resistance to change.